what we need to do is consider how we staff workers so that America can get the services it needs and not understaff. It just doesn't make sense.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
So let's talk a little bit more about some of these Republicans. People are, there's a bunch of these folks running for president, and, most of these folks, they're never really going to be president. And so you might, so a listener might ask, why would you take the time to respond to them? Because their ideas are not isolated to them, right? Vivek Ramaswamy, Ron DeSantis, there are a lot of people that share these ideas. And so talking about Ramaswamy first, he has said he wants to cut 75% of federal jobs and eliminate agencies, including the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. I mean, there's like all this culture war stuff about the Department of Education. And so, obviously we need the Department of Education, but I can't even understand what is the reason for wanting to eliminate the Nuclear Regulatory Commission.
Jacob, that's a typical example of somebody that don't understand politics, right? And don't understand how America works. To think in terms of cutting 90% of the agencies, you're talking about cutting Social Security, right? Right. If we think that these agencies are underfunded right now, right. Especially the Social Security Administration, underfunded. And to talk about cutting 90%, it's insane to even think and phantom that type of idea. Because the American public depends on these services that we render every single day. Can you imagine not having someone at Social Security to take care of your claim when you need to file a new claim? Or someone at the Veterans Administration when the veteran go off to war and come back and there's nobody there to service that veteran? And the list goes on and on and on. So it's a typical example of someone not understanding how America works and not understanding American politics.
And on top of that, you've got it's obviously going to be detrimental to have fewer people being able to process Social Security stuff. The IRS, it's already difficult to get a hold of a person at the IRS. And so it's going to make that much more difficult. The Nuclear Regulatory Commission, I saw that when I was preparing for, this conversation today. And I didn't even realize that until yesterday, that he wants to abolish the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. There's like a reason for that kind of stuff. But on top of that, the federal government employs, millions of workers, millions of Americans. And if you're talking about 75% cut, you're talking about like 1.5 million jobs. That's a recession. That, there's no other way around that. You're going to plunge the United States and then subsequently the globe into, probably an unprecedented recession. a million job losses. How often does that happen?
And the thing about it, Jacob, is that when you consider the amount of employees, direct employees in America today, federal employees, it's the same amount when I believe it was Truman was in office. So, what we need to do is consider how we staff American workers so that America can get the services that it needs and not understaffed, as this person has indicated. It just doesn't make sense. Again, now I don't know if you're going to ask me a question about others that's running for president or not, but I want to go on record and say that these guys are just, it's sickening to hear some of the comments, such as, I think that, I'm going to, on the first day, start slitting the throats of federal bureaucrats, federal employees. To me, that's threatening, right. And federal employees shouldn't have to live under that, under that threat, and this is a person that wants to run for president to have these employees to work for them, but yet you're threatening them, saying that you're going to slit their throats, right? It just doesn't make sense. And they go on and on and on. And these employers are expected to work under this kind of pressure. However, I'm grateful of the type of employees that I represent because they will get the job done, regardless of what threat come after them because, they're used to being threatened. Nevertheless, it doesn't make it any more right. Right. They should not ever be threatened, but they are the type of employees, though, that will get the job done. And I'm proud of that.
Hey, 5 seconds. Just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tvlr.fm/donate.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is definitely the case. And, one of the reasons that they're able to get the job done is because of the security and the benefits and all of that federal unions like AFGE has fought for. Contrary to, the what some people like this might think, people perform better when they're better compensated and when they're comfortable in their workplace and they're secure and all of this kind of stuff. And yet, unions in general are really just kind of the bane of a lot of these politicians' existence. But, government unions in particular, government employee unions in particular, they've got a particular distaste for us, right? Because for some reason they think just because we work for the government means we have to give up our constitutional right to freedom of association and right and unionization, and that's just obviously not the case.
No, not at all. Not at all. It's just the opposite. Matter of fact, we take an oath when we are employed with the federal government, and we take that oath seriously. And that's what I really enjoy about federal employees. That oath means something, and they will go to bat every single day for America. We work for America, and we get the job done.
Absolutely. And then there are, there are legal hurdles to this too. There's the practical stuff that we've been talking about. It would be bad for citizens who don't get the services that they're used to from the federal government. It would be recession causing, obviously. But legally, the president does not have the authority to dismantle commissions and departments that Congress has created. Right? That you can't do that.
Correct. That is correct, Jacob. And many people don't understand that or have not understood that to this point. And yet they will think that the president can undo or the president can do certain things that the president just doesn't have the power to do because the Congress has taken that action. The president cannot undo an action that Congress has enacted.
Right. Yeah, and they're always talking about, executive overreach and stuff like this, but they want the unilateral authority to end entire departments that the United States Congress has put up. It's really, really wild. Reverend Kelley, I really appreciate your time. I want to be respectful of it, so I don't want to keep you much longer. Is there anything that you would want to leave folks with, just about when they're thinking about this kind of stuff, about what these presidential candidates are saying, what should they be considering, especially in regards to, if you're a federal employee, when you're hearing folks say stuff like this? And then are there any, updates that folks should know coming down the pike from AFGE?
Well, Jacob, first of all, thank you for having me on the show today. I always enjoy coming to be a part of your show because it just reminds me of home. But I continue to ask people to pay attention to everything that's said. You cannot allow anything to get past you because if a person is talking about cutting agencies, they certainly can't be the right candidate when we need to be talking about how we fund agencies, right? If they're threatening federal employees, you can imagine what it would be like working for that individual. So we have to pay attention to everything that's said. As it relates to the government shutdown as we move forward, I encourage not just federal employees, but I encourage every single citizen of the United States of America to make a phone call to your representative and tell them, whether it be a Democrat or Republican, make that phone call and say to them that a shutdown is not an option. You know, we are tired of kicking the can down the road. We need to get a funding bill, passed that will fund our government for the rest of the year. And we are tired of every year, we're playing political football or volleyball or whatever you want to call it with federal employees. Stop using them as a scapegoat, and let's figure out how we fund America so that America can work and so that the American workers can get the job done like they want to. Remember, we are not on strike. We are locked out in the event of a shutdown. Okay, we want to go to work, but if Congress in this event would tell us you cannot go to work. So, Jacob, thank you again for having me. I appreciate you, but I implore every citizen to make the phone call to the Congress of the United States of America.
Thank you, Brother Kelley. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, folks. Again, that was President Reverend Everett Kelley from Alabama. Leading the nation's largest federal employee union. I've got a lot of pride about that. He's been a good president. I really appreciate his work over on the Hill, having to wade through the swamp, as we say. Cannot be an easy job, especially in times like this. So really appreciate that. Another fun fact, he was the first black president of the Anniston Army Depot's local union down there. So a lot of history. There. We talked to him about becoming the first black president on the program a few years ago. If you want to go back and find that interview, it was good. I enjoyed it.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fg.